Well, Elon, you need no introduction, but for those who don't know, you are the founder and chief engineer of SpaceX and a longtime friend of the Mars Society, and we're delighted to have you back. Okay, so listen, why don't we just start out with the basics? You started SpaceX to make humanity multi-planetary.
Yeah.
Why do you see that as a critical goal?
Yes. I think we want to be on track to become a multi-planet species and a space-faring civilization in order to find out what the universe is all about, like what, and ensure the continuance of consciousness as we know it. As far as we know, we're the only life. I mean, people think there's aliens, but honestly, I haven't seen any sign of aliens. So as far as we know, we're the only life. Whether we could be the only life, so let's put it that way. And we need to take the set of actions that are most likely to make the future good and result in the continuance of consciousness as we know it.
Okay, well, obviously your means to that end is to open the space frontier with reusable launch vehicles, and you've gone through some partially reusable ones, and now it's Starship. Can you explain basically the line of thinking that led you to the Starship design?
Let's see. Well, on the Starship front, we've gone through many iterations, starting from not really knowing how to build rockets at all with Falcon 1, and having 4 failures actually in reaching orbit. 3 failures, and then the 4th one got to orbit. So 4th one's a charm. So we only barely survived. I was at 0 cash basically when we got that 4th one to orbit, and if that 4th one hadn't worked, we would have been curtains. So it's definitely not been smooth sailing. It's been a very difficult ride. I mean, just trying to figure out what questions to ask about the design was quite difficult. I think it's helpful to have as the objective the creation of a self-sustaining city on Mars. I think this has to be the objective, not simply a few people or a base, but a self-sustaining city. The acid test really is if the ships from Earth stop coming for any reason, does Mars die out? If it does, we're not in a secure place. I mean, I think this really might come down to, on the great filter front, are we going to create a self-sustaining city on Mars before or after World War III? And I think the probability of it being created after World War III, hopefully there's never a World War III, but of after is low. There's some chance that we will have a giant war or a super volcano, or a comet might hit the Earth, or we might just self-extinguish in some. It might be more of a whimper than a bang. And frankly, right now, civilization is not looking super strong. It's just looking a little rickety right now, to be frank.
It's more than a lifeboat, that it would actually make human civilization more robust, clearly more able to divert asteroids from hitting the Earth. And
it's not an escape vehicle. It's unless Mars is made self-sustaining, which will probably not happen in my lifetime. It is certainly not. It's meaningless to have an escape, lifeboat or escape hatch or something, if you're simply moving to another place where you will soon die out. That doesn't count. It's not much of a lifeboat, really. This is really about, say, minimizing existential risk for civilization as a whole, and then having an exciting future that you can look forward to, and a future where we are a spacefaring civilization and multi-planet species is far more exciting than one where we are not. I mean, that's an exciting future, and being forever confined to Earth until some eventual extinction event is depressing and not fun. And we need things that make you want to get out of bed in the morning and be excited about the future. And I think being a spacefaring civilization is one of those things that everyone can get excited about.
But can you maybe just kind of lead people along the path that led you from the design from Falcon 9 to Falcon Heavy, but now Starship is rather different than Falcon Heavy. Um,
Yes,
the engineering.
absolutely. Absolutely. I didn't quite answer your original question. You first have to say what is the goal. And once you have what is the goal, you can then measure the various designs against that goal. So the goal is get enough tonnage to Mars and enough people to make Mars self-sustaining as quickly as possible. So then you say, okay, let's back out the math on this. We're gonna need a lot of tonnage, maybe, I don't know, 100,000 tons, maybe 1,000,000 tons. So you can't be faffing around with these expandable rockets. They're a joke. They're absurd. Even Saturn V is tiny potatoes. You need 5 million tons into Earth orbit to get 1 million tons to Mars. Now, let's put this into perspective. We have way less than 0.1% of the capability needed to create if everyone went full tilt with expendable rockets. Expendable rockets are just utterly stupid, in my opinion, utterly stupid. Creating a reusable rocket, orbital rocket, is very difficult. Doing a suborbital reusable rocket is easy. Doing a reusable orbital rocket is hard. So with Falcon 9, after immense effort, we were able to achieve reusability of the booster. And we're mostly achieving reusability at this point with the fairing as well. A rocket is going to go further if it shoots the gas out of the end faster, and if a bigger percentage of its mass is propellant. With methane, you can shoot it out faster. and
you can make it on Mars.
You can make it on Mars for sure. Being able to do in-situ propellant development or production is very important.
So let me ask you the thing that I think everybody wants to know, which is when? When are we going to see Starship do a high flight to the stratosphere? When to orbit? When first payload to Mars? When first humans to Mars?
These are just guesses, obviously. I'd say I'm 80 to 90% confident that we will reach orbit with Starship next year. I think probably 50% confident that we'll be able to bring the ship and booster back. That's more of a dicey situation. We'll probably lose a few ships before we really get the atmospheric return and landing right. We might lose. Hopefully, we don't lose it. Hopefully, we don't lose any boosters because that's a lot of engines. Our initial booster flights will just have maybe 2 to 4 engines, not 28. 28 is a lot of engines. So, yeah, and then I think we'll probably be doing high volume flights. I think probably in 2022, so a couple years from now. But I'm trying to make sure that our rate of innovation increases, it does not decrease. This is really essential. I think we could get to Mars. We could probably send an uncrewed mission there in maybe 4 years. There's a Mars conjunction every 26 months. There's one this year, so that means in a couple of years from now there's another one, and then 4 years from now there's another one. I think we've got a fighting chance of making that second Mars transfer window.
One thing that is really amazing about SpaceX, to those of us who have experience in the aerospace industry, is the rate of innovation. Okay, last time you spoke to the Mars Society Convention was 2012. Since then, you've made the Falcon 9 reusable, introduced Falcon Heavy, the Crew Dragon, a satellite constellation, and you're in the middle of developing Starship. So what is your, what would you say is your methodology that allows you to innovate so swiftly?
I don't really know. We're focused on, like I said, it is important to have the objective be right. That's why I was talking so much about the importance of making Mars building a self-sustaining city on Mars. If that's the objective, then obviously, just putting some satellites in orbit that's not important. You have to achieve full and rapid reusability. I emphasize full and rapid. Reusability is only relevant to the degree it's rapid and complete. and then you also have to do orbital refilling. This is essential as well. And then propellant production on Mars, also essential. That creates, I think, a good forcing function for radical innovation, because in the absence of radical innovation, we have no chance of meeting that goal. But since the goal is, hey, we need to make life multiplanetary before it's too late, and time really matters, so it's like we're shooting for Mars, not just the moon. It's not let's shoot for the moon, shoot for Mars.
So how can the Mars Society help you?
Well, I do think there's, in order for there to be a self-sustaining city on Mars, we're going to need an intersection of sets here. One set is the set of people that want to go and can either find sponsorship, they can either afford it themselves or find government sponsorship or take out a loan or whatever the case may be. So we need both the motivation and we need both the means and the way. I mean, it's like, we need people to want to go.
The will and the way.
The will and the way. Yes, exactly. The will and the way. Where there's a will, there's a way. But in this case, we need a will and a way. So when the will and the way intersect, then we will be a multi-planet species. The will and the way must intersect. So I think the Mars Society can really help with the will.
Okay, you provide the way, we'll provide the will.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Actually, I'm not super sure. I can tell you what the criteria are that you'd want. You'd want to be, anyway, I think the short answer is mid-latitudes, probably on the north. So you want to be close to ice. You don't want to be you don't want to be too far away from the sun so you can get solar power, and you want to land at a low altitude so that you can take maximum effect of atmospheric braking. I think the first order of business is build a propellant plant. It'd be quite hard, I think, to make that propellant plant reliable. But that's the primary order of business, and then we could also look around and see if we can learn anything from a scientific standpoint. So you don't have to be an aerospace engineer. You could be in electronics, mechanical engineer, electrical engineer. You could be software engineer. I mean, there's a lot of engineering, basically almost any kind of engineering. We'll need chemical engineering, I think, also for figuring out how to make a good propellant depot, or I should say propellant production plant. Yeah, I think physics in general is a good background for thinking. No, the Boring Company actually started as kind of a joke. And for a lot of times people would ask me, what do I think the opportunities are out there? And for, I don't know, 5 years or more, I kept saying, can someone please start a tunneling company? Because I think tunnels have a lot of opportunity for alleviating traffic in cities and just improving quality of life overall. I think we got a shot at doing that in 22, about 2 years. Probably 2 or 3 years. As soon as you've got orbital refilling, you can send significant payload to the moon. Like significant meaning 100 tons of useful payload at a shot. Anyone who is a strong advocate for Mars, I think this really makes a difference. A lot of times it's not even, people aren't even thinking about it. And, you can talk to people at a party or talk to friends and like, it's just not even a topic of conversation. So I think it could really help if everyone out there who thinks this is important for the future of humanity and consciousness as a whole, to make it part of what people are thinking about. Bring it up at parties and talking to friends and online. It's like, it should be a thing that we do, but we really need to make this a thing people talk about at least 1% of the time. And that would really matter. As we were talking about earlier, we need the will, which is we need a critical mass of people wanting to make it happen. And then we need the way. And SpaceX is going to try hard to provide the way. And then once we show that there's a way, probably there'll be other companies that also try to do it as well. So we need the will and the way. They can provide either. The will is extremely important. It makes a huge difference. Well, I guess the coolest part of Starship development is working with just a great team of engineers and coming up with interesting solutions. Yeah, I think it's just fundamentally enjoyable if you're working with a lot of good, smart people creatively towards solutions that have never existed before. That's very rewarding. Starship is definitely a generalized ship. It basically it solves for transport anywhere in the solar system where there is a solid surface to land. So if you can land there, we're going to take there. We'll also actually go into the atmosphere of Venus, for example, just like go into orbit and perhaps to the upper atmosphere. Venus's atmosphere is extremely dense, it's also quite hot. And then like Mercury is super hot. I think that we could go to Ceres or any of the asteroids, the moons of Jupiter, although there'd be quite high radiation around there. And then out to Saturn, eventually getting out to the sort of Kuiper belt, Earth cloud, and that kind of thing, the outer solar system. So Starship, once you have propellant depots, you can kind of like planet hop or moon hop around the solar system. It's not a vehicle that would enable us to go interstellar, but it's that's a tough one. But we need to make the leap of going to another planet first. Once we are a multi-planet species, we will create a forcing function for the rapid improvement of space flight, and we'll figure out new technologies that will ultimately allow us to go to other star systems. Really just look for evidence of exceptional ability. So it's not, or at least aspirationally, like sometimes these things get messed up in recruiting, or the recruiting filter ends up being wrong. Like I sometimes wonder with Tesla, if Nikola Tesla applied to Tesla, would we even give him an interview? But I can tell you the intent is we're looking for evidence of exceptional ability, and it really doesn't matter if you went to graduate high school or college or anything. We're just looking for evidence of exceptional ability, such that it would be a good predictor for doing exceptional things at SpaceX. Yeah, I mean, you could certainly do some variants of Starlink. This will probably have to be the last question. Yeah, you could just do a version of Starlink around Mars. And just like a thank you to all the people out there that are fighting hard for the cause of Mars. There's not that many, and we need more. Thank you.
All right, thank you.